In that moment of him singing and opening my heart, I just had this click. And my girlfriend next to me was like, run to him.
I'm Emily Calloway, and this is Kismet. Kismet is a podcast featuring your true love stories. Today, I'm speaking with Jamie, who will be sharing her story about how she wasn't looking for love when she went on a cruise around the world. But sometimes love has other plans. Hello, Jamie. Welcome to Kismet. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here.
Y'all, so I met Jamie at a podcast meetup. She is sort of an expert on podcasting at Skewed Orbit here in Atlanta. And we connected afterwards, and she mentioned about her love story. I thought she'd be a great person to have on the pod. So glad that you are willing to come on and talk to me.
I'm happy to be here and support you.
Thank you so much. So to get started today, I'd love to just hear a little bit about you, just who you are, what you do, your passions, all of that sort of good stuff.
So I've worked in television news for over 20 years, working inside the engine of MSNBC, Fox News Channel, CNN. And then after 24-hour cable news, I spent some time at BET overseeing unscripted productions that included documentaries, as well as a live studio interview with Vice President Kamala Harris that I got to manage. It was a 150-person crew. Throughout my career, I've always helped people become camera ready. And, I now lead in Atlanta, the Producers Guild of America. It's a producers group. I'm the chapter head here in Atlanta, so I host events. And I also help out with Riverside FM events. Occasionally, I'll help and talk to the community so that they can start leveling up with YouTube in mind. Video first is a big priority right now among podcasters. But outside of that, I run On-Cam Ready Media. We help thought leaders and mission-driven experts turn their thought leadership into content. So if they want to transform their digital footprint online and start to become more known, we help them strategize on how to do that in a way that will help them attract more clients and potentially the press. It's all about being relevant, and I take my clients through what I call a known framework to help them start to really shine and stand out online.
That's amazing, and definitely very, very needed these days with what all is going on in content creation and podcasting and YouTube and everything else. So, well, to get started, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about sort of your lead up to your love story. Give us some background on where you were in your life at the time that you met your person, and if you were looking for love, what your relationship was to marriage, and if you'd been somebody that dreamed of the happily ever after, what what your sort of outlook on that was.
When I was 19, I traveled around the world searching for answers about communication, media, and economic diversity. But what I wound up finding was my person and my home in him. It was a very unique experience. I never actually thought I would be the one getting married and wanting children. So take you back to high school. All the girls are sitting around the lunchroom table talking about, well, what would you name your kids, and what kind of kids do you want? Do you want a girl and a boy, or a boy and two girls? And I stood there and was like, I don't want kids. And it wasn't because I didn't like children. It was because I helped raise my own two young sisters. They were twins. And my mom would, when she had twins, was like, you get one, I get one. Because she could, that's a big lift.
Yeah.
And so I kind of already felt like I was a mom.
Yeah.
And so I didn't that wasn't a part of my dream. My dream was to become an on-camera anchor or actress, singing on stages. I didn't see me not being a public figure. And that being the love of my life. You know, it was like, that was what I thought. And when I got to, I had this opportunity at the end of high school where I was selected to go to Africa, and I wrote an article for a magazine about the economic diversity and along the Gold Coast, and it was an archaeological story. And I was very, very, very lucky to have won this opportunity to do this. And it changed a lot in me. Seeing the families there in Africa where all they wanted was to raise a family and protect their kids,
Mhm.
I started to be like, okay, maybe I would want something of my own.
Mhm.
So in college, I started to become more open to finding that love of my life.
Mhm.
But I put my hope in one person, thinking maybe he's the one, you know, or maybe it was those hopes and dreams, the puppy love stage, but he wasn't the one. And I knew he wasn't the one.
Yeah.
And so when I went on my trip around the world, it was with Semester at Sea, and I
Mhm.
was 19, and my roommate at the time told me about it. So I was like, oh, I always had on my vision board to travel around the world. This is a great opportunity to check that off. I'm
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
So I went, and I went into it having already had this loss of like, I'm not dating anybody. This guy didn't work. I put my eggs in the wrong basket. I really want to just explore the world, understand how people live, and focus on how media is produced in these different countries. And we're very fortunate on this cruise. Semester at Sea doesn't really do many around the world cruises
Mhm.
as it did then. So this one started from Florida and went all the way around the world and ended in Seattle, Washington. So we had the full adventure planned out, my
Wow.
roommate and I went into it unable to really afford the excursions
Yeah.
because I was paying for college and I took out a loan to do this. So I
Where
wasn't one of those kids on this ship with a ton of money.
Yeah.
I had an old beat up camera that barely worked on this trip, unfortunately. And, you know, it was one of those experiences that I wanted to have for myself. So I was not looking for love. And this guy, my now husband, was playing his guitar on the back of the ship.
It's always a guy with a guitar.
Always the guy with the guitar.
Yeah.
And that moment in the back of the ship, we were leaving Cuba, and we just had this surreal experience in Cuba. Like Fidel Castro invited our entire ship to his house.
Wow.
And like we had
That's
this huge
insane.
party, and it was right around the time where the US was truly trying to build some relations back with
Mhm.
Cuba. So I think that's why this was extended to us. And we had this blowout party. So everyone's coming back to the ship excited for life. And there he is playing his guitar with two other guys, and they're jamming out, having a great night. And I just was in that mood of I am living out my best life. And I went over and started to sing. So
Oh, wow.
I had a ska kind of like cover. It wasn't a cover band. We did some cover bands, songs in college, in high school. So I had this band, and
Mhm.
I also sang opera, and I was a performer on stages, musical theater. So we relate. And, I wasn't opposed to singing
Yeah.
at all. So I just walked up, was listening to them, and just started singing.
Oh, wow.
And he sings, so we
Mhm.
were harmonizing. And you know, girl, how that
Yeah.
works, right? You're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Hey, we get along. There's some rhythm here."
Yeah.
Super cute.
Yeah.
And I left that being like, I think I found a really good friend. You
Mhm.
know, I wasn't looking.
So at Semester at Sea, was this at the beginning of your trip? Was it at the end? Like, I don't
Beginning. Yeah. So Florida, Cuba, second
Yeah.
location.
Okay. How many people were on this boat?
Maybe like 700, 500. Like we had it was a very small cruise ship. We had
Yeah.
one of the smallest original semester at sea cruise ships. So it was not many people.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, like, okay, so if a romance starts, then you're also stuck on a ship with this guy for the entire semester.
Let me tell you. Yeah.
If things go wrong, if things go right, I mean, you can
Yeah.
have a quick bond, but if things go wrong, you're Yeah.
You're cooked.
You'll hear all
And
those true crime stories about people going overboard. So.
exactly. And I did not go on this ship thinking I would be finding the love of my life. I thought,
Yeah.
maybe a couple flings, a
Mhm.
romance here in Cuba, a romance here in South Africa. Like I wasn't going in for anything serious.
Yeah.
And I was actually like kind of already snuggling up with one guy at the time. Like Cuba
Yeah.
everyone was already pairing up on this ship.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So, I looked at him, I was like, oh, he'd be a really cool friend. And so
Mhm.
we all got together another day and decided to start a band doing cover songs and we would perform for the ship. And so we pitched this idea to the dean of the ship and he was like, we've never done this. Like, this is such a great idea.
Yeah.
So we created a band and they gave us practice space. And so he and I are now interacting all the time. And everyone
Mhm.
listening, you know how that is. If you're in a work room, an office romance
Yeah.
or a school
Yeah.
romance, right? You're seeing each other
Mhm.
a lot
Yeah.
and you're playing off each other,
Yeah.
flirting.
Mhm.
And there was some of that chemistry with us because we already had that musical harmony, which,
Mhm.
you don't usually find very easily, like
Yeah.
that scene partner where you're like, okay,
Mhm.
wow, we should really, get together. Like that's how it was. And so we had good chemistry. And I just kept saying, he's just a friend. Like, I am
Mhm.
not doing this because I can't get into anything serious right now. Like, this is not happening.
Mhm.
And my roommate kept saying to me, like, I think he's the one. Like, this
Wow.
is like, you should really consider this. And I was like, what are you even talking about? She's like, Jamie, like, he is so perfect for you. And you need to really start thinking about this a bit more seriously. And she started to say this from Brazil to South Africa. So Brazil to South Africa is a very long,
Mhm.
excursion. And I was hanging out with him. So it's not like we weren't hanging out at this point. We were hanging out, building a band. And we decided to perform on the ship on our way to South Africa because it was a long trip. And so during that time, I was still like, nah, we just friends.
Mhm.
And when we got to South Africa, I saw he was looking for something to do. And I said, hey, you want to just go to dinner? So, girl, he got the wrong signal. Let me tell you. He thought this was a date. And
Oh
I'm like, no,
yeah,
no,
of
no, no, no,
course.
no, no, no. We going out to dinner. We're just friends. And he's like,
Mhm.
oh, you sure? I'm like, yeah, yeah. Like, just
Was
let's
anyone
hang
else
out.
at this dinner with you, Jamie?
No, it was
Okay,
just
then it's
us.
a date.
It's a date. And I'm like, no, we're just friends.
Yeah.
So he like gets me a rose. He's like being all
Oh
sweet.
my God.
We're eating like alligator and, exotic animals at a
Yeah.
restaurant in Africa. And we went to a club in Africa, like completely
Interesting.
random first date experience because you're on this ship. And at the end, he kept like trying to like move in on me. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, we're just friends. Like, come on.
Mhm.
We passed his friend group and they were all drinking and hanging out. And I was like, okay, here's where we leave. I'm going to leave you here. You
Mhm.
hang out with your friends and I'm going back to the ship.
Mhm.
And it was a very like, we're not doing this. So
Mm.
that's how we actually, got started. It just escalated from there.
Well, what a great first date, even if it wasn't like a date.
Yeah.
I mean, thinking back all these years later, I'm sure you're just like, I mean, your first date's in another country having this grand adventure. Like,
Mhm.
who can say that? Not many people. So,
No, it was very cool. I
yeah.
will say, but I didn't, I kept pushing it off. And I'm sure there's a lot of people listening who their friends may be pointing out that this guy's the one and they don't
Mhm.
see it.
Mhm.
And I just kept kind of pulling back from it. And it wasn't until I decided to just let it happen. Like if
Mhm.
this is going to happen, it's going to happen. And it wasn't really until he performed on stage solo with
Mhm.
another guy. So there's two of them. And I remember being in the audience and saying like, this was after South Africa. And I was like, he is the one. Like
Mm.
his music just spoke to my heart in a way no one ever did.
Mhm.
And I saw him, I was like almost crying listening to him. And when he got off stage, I got up out of my seat. I wasn't even like thinking. I just got up out of my seat and I jogged out of the auditorium, and I was looking for him, and everyone's like, "Oh, I think he went to his room." So I chased down the steps, and as I ran down the steps, he was at like the base before the next round of steps,
Mhm.
and he felt me coming, he said, and he turned around, and when I came down the steps, we just embraced and kissed.
That
Never ever saying we
Wow.
liked each other. It just was like,
It's
this
a
is it.
rom-com. You could
It really
I mean,
was.
like, it really sounds like a rom-com, that moment
Mhm.
of recognition, like, "Oh my
Mhm.
god, I do like him. I do love him." Like, so what was sort of the hang up? Do you think that you weren't ready before, or did you have sort of, an idea of what you thought your person was going to look like or be like, et
I
cetera?
never yeah, I didn't really have that
Mhm.
because as I said, like, I just wasn't the person thinking like, "I wanna get married, I wanna have
Yeah.
kids." So I didn't really dream up this
Yeah.
man.
Mhm.
In that I have to say, like, I was very closed off. This is not happening. Like, he is not
Mhm.
happening. I am not doing this. I have a career to plan. I have a life
Yeah.
to plan, and I'm in college on a trip that I need to focus.
Yeah.
And in that moment of him singing and opening my heart, it I just had this click. And
Mhm.
my girlfriend next to me was like, "Run to him." Like, I remember her being like, "You just gotta give in." And I'm
Oh
like,
my
"Oh."
god.
And so I listened. I
Yeah.
finally listened to her, and she was right. And
Yeah.
I think some of us really try to paint the picture of like, this is what it has to be, and it
Mhm.
can't be anything else. And he has to fit a certain box or she. And you sometimes have to just go with your gut. Now, did I
Yeah.
know it was going to go on forever at that moment? No, but I knew there was something more there that I needed to explore.
Yeah. So take me on from there. So you have this this magical kiss where you chase him down
It was like,
and he
yeah.
feels you. So how did things grow from there?
It was, us just spending every day together on this cruise ship and now traveling around the world. Our
Mhm.
first like romantic date was in India. And I
Oh my
just
gosh.
remember we took different excursions. I saved up for my trip in Africa as well as in India because I wanted to
Mhm.
do the Taj Mahal and you want to do certain things.
Yeah.
So those were the two locations that I was like, I need to be present for.
Mhm.
So we had different excursions and we went our separate ways after this first night in India. So this first night in India, we all went out to this extraordinarily incredible Indian restaurant where we sat in a table of like 40 people
Oh
and we
wow.
all shared food and ate in a very customary way. And
Mhm.
after that, we went to this extremely elaborate gold like building. I mean, we were on a very nice night in India.
Yeah.
And so he and I were there and we were there with all of our friends. And I just remember the night ending like I didn't want to leave him. I just
Mm.
didn't want him to go. And so he went his separate way, I went mine. And I just kept having this tugging of I need to like really be with this person.
Mhm.
And so when I flew back, or I took the train, I can't remember. No, we both flew back from our locations in India and we're all in this airport. I had no idea he would be in the same airport. And
Mm.
I I just had this feeling I needed to go back inside. And
Mhm.
my girlfriends and I were like, okay, well, what? I was like, maybe I just need to go to the bathroom or something. I just feel like I need to go back inside. Maybe we should get some pictures. Like, let's
Mhm.
just go back in before we board the bus. And I go back in and there he is walking through the airport. And I was like,
Oh.
what the heck? And I remember running to him and we just like hugged and it felt like I found my person. It was
Mhm.
so weird.
Hmm.
And it just grew from there. Every location we started to get to know each other better because now you're in
Mhm.
these, unique stressful places. You're trying
Yeah.
to navigate at this time. We didn't have technology really. So you're trying
Yeah.
to navigate a whole country together. And again, we didn't really pay for many excursions after this. So every location we got the opportunity to really experience one another. I did a safari in Tanzania and he he wasn't on that one, but we did get to explore Tanzania, and then we went to we were supposed to go to Vietnam and China, but there was a SARS outbreak. So we were all
Oh.
stuck on the ship for a very extended period of time without leaving. And that was a test. Like, can we handle each other? Like,
Yeah.
we are all being told to share a shower because we're running out of water and to
Oh my
not
gosh.
eat too much because we were running out of food.
Oh my
The
gosh.
ship was like, we gotta. And so when we finally got to Japan, that was our first drop off after. We wound up in Japan twice before going to South Korea. And I felt like by South Korea, I was not feeling it. I was like, okay, we've been through too much. I think I just needed like a break, like that
Yeah.
moment of like, we've been together every single day through a very intense experience.
Yeah.
Singing together, on a
was
ship
gonna
together,
say.
in school together,
Yeah.
everything.
The boat, I mean, the whole band thing adds a whole nother
Everything.
dynamic.
A whole dynamic. And he was the lead singer and I was backup, which I wasn't really happy with in this moment. It was like, I want to be singing more.
Yeah.
So we had this argument, and I think it was the fact that we came back together with solutions and resolutions and didn't cut it. It was like, well, wait. I really feel this, and I think we're feeling this because of X, not because of what we have. Like, we need to give this a shot. So if we're going to give this a shot, we got to get through the hard stuff, right?
Yeah.
And he was the one kind of saying that. Like, I am happy. So, like, let's just try to make this, like, get through this moment. And I swear, the universe and God has a very big impact, I think, in sometimes connecting people.
Yeah.
So from Japan to Alaska was a horrible storm. And again, we're on this very small cruise ship.
Yeah.
And the ship is going like this, where when it went like this, the windows were underwater. Okay.
Yeah.
And you're just like people are just like sliding
Oh my
all
God.
over the place. Everyone's like, stay in your rooms. My room, the water kept hitting, the window kept touching the water. I was up in a top floor.
Yeah.
And so we started to get flooding into our room. So
Oh
my
my
roommate
God.
and I, who was also my roommate in college, and from the rain and everything, like we just had a lot of water. This ship was small.
Yeah.
And so we had to move to like an interior room. And it was so scary. And he was like, I want you in my room. Like, I need to make sure you're okay. And it was that moment of, he's really like here to protect, like he wants to protect me. He wants to make me safe. He is a safety. He became like my safety boat, right? And I became his. And I think that escalated the relationship even further. That by the time we got to Alaska and we're wrapping up the trip, and I'm about to go to Seattle, I was like, I feel like you're my person. Like, I don't know how we're going to make this work in the real world, but like, we really need to try.
Yeah.
And we started to even talk about marriage. And now we're talking, this is a semester, folks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we're not, this wasn't a year, but it felt like a year. And that's crazy.
It seems like one of those vacation romances almost, where things are heightened because you do pack so much in and you get to know each other in a different way than if you're seeing the same person every day in your normal life. When it's a vacation, or I guess a semester at sea, it's for a moment in time. It's, because I assume that you went to different colleges as well, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So that it's for a short period of time and you're having these like really heightened experiences of going to these new places and, experiencing very, very different worlds from your own. Like you said, getting lost in different cities and experiencing these, scary storms and everything. So I can imagine that forges a bond that, most people aren't exposed to at that age.
Yeah. And if I said 19, I know I was 20 and then I turned 21 on the ship. So that's the age that we're at. We're at that age of there's so much more ahead.
Yeah.
Like your career hasn't started, your life hasn't really started. And now here I am starting to think like, okay, I found my partner for life.
Wow.
And I remember introducing him to my parents, and my parents are like, "I'm sorry, who is this? Why is he staying like, what?" Because
Yeah.
at the time, we didn't have, really good internet. So
Yeah.
I didn't really write them very many letters,
Mhm.
on in an email and say, "Hey, like I met a guy. I remember saying
Yeah.
that. I'd love for you to meet him." They just didn't realize like how serious it was.
Yeah.
Where when he was staying with us in our hotel, they're like, what's happening? Like, what are we doing?" I was like, "Oh, I
Mhm.
told him he could stay with us." And they're like, "Ah." And, that awkwardness that my parents felt, they were very much like, "Okay, we need some time to process this."
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a funny time. I think back when I was about that age, I had a serious boyfriend too, and he
Mhm.
came home with me after, I guess, 6 months or something like that. But I definitely told everyone he was just my friend. He was not my friend, but I don't. I mean, I guess he was my friend, but he was more than a friend. But I don't know. Like, it's
Mhm.
just interesting. So,
Mhm.
um, as somebody that never really, saw yourself getting married or having children, then you meet this guy who is like your person. Where was sort of your mindset after that? Were you pushing back at all against this idea? Like when you departed and left each other after the semester at sea, were you fully in at that point, or were you sort of still pushing away at this idea and saying like, oh, I still need to focus on my career and what's next for me?
I was still into the focus. However, I I remember being almost like depressed, not with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was this feeling of, "Oh my gosh, like I don't know if I can do this." And because our ship, we had so much go wrong,
Mm-hmm.
SARS, a huge storm, they had offered us to go back around the world in the following year
Wow. Oh my God.
at like a huge discount. And
Yeah.
everyone was like, "All right, we're going to Russia." And I couldn't imagine going without him. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, "I'm not going." And my group of friends, they went, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I felt like I need to focus on my career, but I was like, I don't think I want to do that without him. And
Mm-hmm.
so I actually chose to take a semester in New York City working at ABC
Mm-hmm.
on actually One Life to Live, the soap
Okay. Yeah.
opera.
Yeah.
And I ran scripts. It was so
Mm-hmm.
fun. But I did that because then I could be home in New Jersey and he was in Pennsylvania and we could see
Okay.
each other more.
Yeah.
And one of the summers before graduation, he took the summer to stay with me. So I chose to do an off-campus apartment so that he could stay with me and
Mm-hmm.
other roommates. So that we did have those long extended periods of time where we could be together
Mm-hmm.
while we're trying to navigate what's next. And when I graduated, I got a job in New Jersey at MSNBC and I was able to stay at home. And when I did that, he dropped everything to move out to me.
Wow.
And it was surreal. And he got a job in construction from my dad and lived at the guy who owned the company's house just so he
Mm-hmm.
could be near us.
Wow.
And so eventually my parents were like, "Okay, this is pretty serious, huh?" I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yeah." Like we're in. So it just grew from there.
Yeah. Wow. It sounds like he was very mature for his age. I mean, you also sound like you were very mature for your age. Certainly a lot more mature than I would have been. But, you don't hear a lot of stories about, especially men being that centered and
Mhm.
realizing like what they have at 21 years old, 22 years old,
Correct.
and making those kind of moves.
Yeah, I mean, he graduated from Pitt and he could have gotten a job somewhere,
Hmm.
anywhere, and
Yeah.
he chose not to. And so I pushed him. He wanted to write scripts for film and TV.
Hmm.
And he was an English major. So I started to get him to write and pushed him and made him, try to put himself out there. And along that way, he wound up landing a job at Sony Music.
Hmm.
And he wound up at Sony Music in one of the most niche professions, and now he's a very desired individual in this line of work of
Mhm.
business management and royalties, and he
Mhm.
works now for the, music artist side, where
Mhm.
he represents more of their needs and their, royalty requests, and so now he gets to work from home and has, like, a very niche, cool
Yeah.
job that incorporates writing, like, he's not script writing, but if we weren't together and I didn't push him to put his application into these places and try for big things, he may not have landed there.
Yeah.
And probably wouldn't have. I know. I would not have landed at Fox News Channel if it wasn't for him. So
Mhm.
he took an interview at Fox because I told him to interview for this writer job there. And he interviewed and he didn't take the job because he was interested in this Sony Music job.
Mhm.
And so he said, I'm going to pass, but I think you should interview my friend, Jamie. And so they interviewed me, and that got me in the door.
Wow. So, I
Mhm.
mean, this is something that I talk about pretty often in my
Mhm.
podcast, but I think that the
Mhm.
best partnerships really are the ones where you do inspire each other to grow
Mhm.
and you are better together than
Yeah.
you are apart. And
Mhm.
it sounds like that's certainly the case for the two of you.
Mhm. Yes, I would definitely agree, and it helps now. So now with, having had such a long career
Hmm.
and now we have 2 children, so that career when it happened, I'm working in New York City, I'm working at Fox News Channel, we bought a place together there, and then, we both had this desire to potentially have children now because we have each other and we got married, and it was like, yeah, I think if I'm gonna start a family, it's with you. I'm not. And I got this opportunity to move to Atlanta, Georgia and work at CNN. So we decided to jump at it. We kept trying to picture a child in our apartment in Jersey City, and we're like, that's not
Yeah.
happening. So we moved down here, and I kid you not, we sold our place and Sandy hit,
Oh,
and that
wow.
place flooded.
Wow.
It was like timing just
Yeah.
kept being on our side
Yeah.
because that would have been a stressor that he and I would have had to have dealt with
Hmm.
as a couple, a newly married couple, and that would
Hmm.
have been really painful.
Right.
So I'm glad we had done what we did and made the transition to Atlanta. But like within a few months of being here, I was pregnant.
Oh,
And so
wow.
now I'm in this new job and I'm like, hi, this was not expected.
It's the way
But
it
I'm about
always
to be a mom.
goes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. So how long have you guys been married now?
Oh gosh. I mean, I've been with him since I'm 20, so I'm old. I'm 44, so
We're the same age, so you're
24.
not old. I am the same age as you are.
And I think it means we're gonna be, I think we're like, I don't know. I don't remember, to be honest. I'm so
Yeah.
bad at this. I always go by how long we've been together,
Yeah. Well, that's fair. I mean, it's
but
good.
we've been together a long time. We're gonna be 25 years next year. That's all I keep thinking.
That's wild. Um, here I am, 44, and I haven't even begun my journey.
You'll
to
get
that.
there, girl.
But it's funny. I actually had a friend, a couple friends that did semester at sea when I was at college. So
Wow.
yeah, and I remember them talking about how special of an experience. I went to NYU, so
Nice.
one of them, this guy named Taylor, he went to school with me, and he actually. He knew a girl from my hometown who was also on semester at sea with him. So it's very interesting. I know it's I'm wondering if you were on the same boat with the two of them. That would be so funny. Yeah, well, all of that sounds amazing. It makes me also want to go on semester at sea as a 44.
Girl, my sister found her love on semester at sea too.
Oh my God. Both of you? Your parents are like, this is the best decision we've ever made.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't stay together forever, but
Yeah.
they were together a very long time and she found him on semester at sea. So if this
How
is not a plug for semester at sea, hey, semester at sea, remember, I am on their podcast. So you can watch the semester at sea podcast
Oh my gosh.
and hear more about it. But yeah.
That's crazy. Well, it makes me want to look into into some sort of version of that for adults. I'm always like, I always like want to recapture like summer camp for adults, and
Yeah, they
that
have it.
sounds.
They have lifelong learners.
Yeah. So, I mean, just I'm a big traveler. So, the opportunity to go to all of those diverse
Mhm.
locations that you were talking about all on the same trip sounds
Yeah.
pretty incredible. So, obviously, you've been together for 25 years. Obviously, there's ups and downs and things along the way. What are some of the things that you've learned through your marriage and relationship to your husband?
Hmm. You know, your significant other you do want them to be your best friend. And I think starting out with him being kind of like my guy best friend on this ship really did make the difference because we
Hmm.
were already able to know what it's like to have a relationship with each other that wasn't just in love with one another,
Hmm.
having like hard conversations. And I think you need to have someone who has your back and you need to have theirs. I have always had huge, big dreams. And sometimes I feel like maybe he minimized his dreams to make room for mine. And it's important to not do that for one another all the time. But I
Hmm.
feel like he did it at the right times.
Hmm.
When my opportunities came, he knew it was time to let them breathe,
Hmm.
right? And so CNN was one of those jobs that I never thought I'd leave. And I freelance there occasionally now, but my full-time job is over and what I do now is nothing like what I did before, really.
Hmm.
And it was heartbreaking for me
Hmm.
because here I am, my show got canceled, my role got ended, and I'm like, what am I doing? Who am I? And I got lucky where BET offered me a job before I even left CNN. Like, again, kismet, right?
Hmm.
And that job started right away. So I was like, fine. Like, I'm not going to work at CNN. I'm going to work at BET and I'm going to put all my money, all my eggs into this basket. I'm going to invest into this. And so my husband was very much like, great. You're getting paid like way more. Like, this is
Yeah.
awesome. I was working from home. Like, he was all supportive. But I was able to basically bring in a huge increase because I was being paid like a severance and this BET money, right? So you got
Yeah.
to think like we were so happy
Yeah.
and able to provide for our kids and feeling like this is where we're supposed to be. But the strikes happened and my
Hmm.
role at BET ended at the same time my severance ended. And
Mm.
suddenly we're living on that savings. And that's
Yeah.
when the stressors start. And you're like, okay, this is shrinking. We put our daughter in private school to support her dyslexia, and now
Hmm.
we got to take her out. And you just start to
Yeah.
those tension points are
Hmm.
what break marriages.
Yeah.
You really need to have a strong relationship, and that's what we've been able to do for one another is be there for each other, but also allow each other to have the dreams that they need. So at that time, I was pushing him to leave Sony and to go to the music artist side.
Hmm.
And life just worked out. That happened. He was able to get an increase in his salary because we believed and we tried and we kept supporting one another.
Hmm.
And it balanced us out again. And it was like, oh my gosh, like at least we're not truly underwater. And I think his job actually came before the main struggle. So it was just like a sequence of events that just we could have crashed and
Yeah.
burned, but we
Yeah.
didn't because we had each other's backs and we gave each other space to live out that dream. So when he was starting to climb in his role, I started to pull back from mine and be like, okay,
Hmm.
I'm going to focus on the kids right now. I'm going to take jobs where I can. I'm going to be home because he was not around as much, where his
Hmm.
previous job he was.
Hmm.
And I think, when you do that for each other and you make room for each other, it works. But when you both are trying really hard to go heavy on big dreams, I think it does create some tension. So we've been creating a balance and a space for one another's dreams. And I do think that he has pulled back on his at times to account for mine. And right now, he has essentially pushed me to not find a job, to be on my own, to start my
Hmm.
own business. He's like, this is your moment, and we're just going to have to focus on you right now. And so in that conversation of me focusing on my business for the last year, it's really not been about his. His is more
Mhm.
about like just coast, just get through, and now he has a promotion coming, thankfully, but I now need to essentially make my reality of building a business less of his concern and
Yeah.
something of, like we need to come back to that balance point of like he's not my husband and my coach every day.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, no.
anyway, that's where we're at in a relationship, and it's a really nice point to be at. We both just came back from Nashville where he had clients, I had clients. I had a big interview there for
Mhm.
myself. I was on a podcast, and it's nice to be able to do those things together and support one another in different ways. But he essentially pulled back to support me while I went to Nashville to focus on this big interview.
Mhm.
And that's huge for me, and a huge for any relationship is to give and take, right?
Absolutely. I think that it's beautiful that you have given each other the space also to grow and for those
Mhm.
dreams to change and evolve as,
Mhm.
time goes on. I mean, you said starting this new business, and that's something that's, obviously takes a lot of time and effort, and it's
Mhm.
learning a lot of new things and trying new things and experimenting and, just being each other's cheerleader, but also, you know, giving you space to explore what's next for Jamie. I think that's really awesome.
It's good.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for my listeners who have not found the one? Anything that, comes to mind that helped you along your journey or things that you've
Mhm.
learned?
I think it is important to put yourself out there, right? Always. We all say that. But also to allow the unexpected to take place.
Mm.
If
Hmm.
you are meeting a guy and you're like, "Oh no, he's not what I'm looking for."
Yeah.
Maybe maybe he is. Like don't shut it down right away. You never know. I
Hmm.
have a friend who she was searching for love, didn't find the right guy. She met this guy and she was very much like, mm-mm, he's not my
Hmm.
type. He's not what I look for. He's not doing the job I expect. He doesn't have the money I need. And
Hmm.
he doesn't even dress the way I need my guy to dress. And now they've been together for a very long time. And they're not married, but
Yeah.
it also happened to my other girlfriend. She's in her 40s and she didn't find her guy until she was 40s.
Yeah.
And it was that moment of, okay, this I didn't expect. But now
Hmm.
they live together. They have dogs together. Like they're building a life together. And it's organically happening. And it's only because she allowed it. She gave herself permission to do something different and
Yeah.
to allow someone in that wasn't checking all the boxes. And I
Hmm.
think you need to be open minded to that, because if you're always looking for, does this person fit? You may not ever find the puzzle piece that will make you complete.
Hmm. I love that. That's a very beautiful way of phrasing things. Yeah, to your point about that. So I mentioned that I just got back from France. I was there for
Mhm.
2.5 weeks. And, prior to that trip, I think I've been sort of in this journey recently where I've been building my own business and,
Mhm.
also working on this podcast and pursuing dreams that have been buried for a minute and that sort of thing. And haven't really made time or space for dating. I've always been very intentional with that. But when I went to France, because it was vacation mode, right? I found myself a lot more open to it. And I went on several
Mhm.
dates while I was there. One was somebody that normally, if I was in Atlanta, I would say no to because he
Mm.
was quite a bit older than me. And that's not usually like something that I go for.
Gravitate toward, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I was like, well, I'm in France. Why not?
No,
And
yeah, you should.
I mean, had a great time. Like it wasn't a forever match or anything like that, but just learned a lot and
Mhm.
was inspired. And it was very interesting, deep conversations. And then, that opened the way up for another date with another guy who was more of my type.
Nice.
But I don't know. It's just sort of, I find myself just sort of noticing and being more present in my life when I'm sort of let go of that intentionality. Like intentionality is important to like really, if you want children, if you want X, Y, and Z, like, yes, it's important to be intentional, but at the same time, to your point, you might be closing yourself off from people who may come in a different form than you expected and may bring sort of a depth and connection that wasn't unanticipated.
There's such a good point. And I'm going to share this personal moment that happened with me. As I mentioned, I was in television news for 20 plus years. And when you're in a television news control room, you're in control. You're choosing like as a producer, I'm choosing what airs when, who airs, who gets seen, who doesn't get seen, how it's presented. I'm producing history in the making for you, for your listeners, everyone around the world.
Yeah.
And there's this moment at the end of the show where the lights go out, the room gets dim, everyone gets quiet, and the chaos settles. And it's kind of this dip to black moment. There's a few different experiences of dipping to black in TV news, when dip to black and it's chaotic, and then this dip to black at the end of the show when it's reflective. And there was this moment after I left the control room, I started to think back to what it was like there because I loved it so much. And I was trying to figure out who I was at this point. I lost my job ended. My husband's telling me to figure out who I am. I had 2 spine surgeries that he had to deal with because of, I just wasn't taking as good of care of myself when I was working. It was all about work, kids, and I didn't put the effort in for me. So I had 2 spine surgeries in less than a year that he had to manage. I was in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And so I was reflecting back into the control room as to what it was. What was it that I loved about it? And at the end, as I said, the room goes dark. The anchor walks out of the frame. And we all start planning ahead and thinking ahead. And my husband gave me the permission, essentially, to choose to walk into the frame in my life. Because I never realized that throughout my entire career, while I was producing history for everyone else, I wasn't actually producing my own life. My life was in draft mode. And he gave me the permission to essentially publish it and put myself out there and hand myself the mic and be the person I was feeling I was meant to be.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to do for your partner. You need to be able to hand them the mic when they need it and encourage them to step into the frame of their own story, of their own life. Because once he gave me that permission and I committed to publishing and producing my own story, so much began to build, and I was able to really start to find my place in this world after a long career and build a business. And it wouldn't have been possible if he didn't do that for me.
I love that metaphor. It brought me back to what you were first discussing about being the backup singer. And, I think it's beautiful now that you're also producing your own life, so to speak, and producing your own dreams. So on that note, tell us where we can find you and learn from you, because you know so much about this industry. So share with my listeners where they can find you.
Well, guys, if you want to learn more about how to be on camera ready for moments like this, or media hits, or heck, the stage, I talk about what it takes to be on camera ready on YouTube at OnCam Ready. It's the handle. We'll make sure you have that. I also work with individuals who are trying to strategically position themselves so they are more visible and can attract clients and potentially earn the media that their work deserves. I also hold a women's networking group in Atlanta. We are focused on supporting one another on that journey of unknown to known. And we provide these women who are authors, speakers, high stakes communicators, podcasters who are just looking to find their people on that journey. And we give them the room to feel supported. And that's the Known Collective.
I'm going to have to look into that for sure. Well, Jamie, thank you so much. I feel like I've learned a lot from you from this conversation. And I know that everyone else who's listening to this or watching it right now will also feel the same way. So thank you again for sharing your thoughts and your story with us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Kismet. If you haven't already, please give us a like or leave us a comment wherever you're listening. It really does help. If you have your own Kismet story, I'd love to hear from you. Please send it to me at kismetstoriespodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, be bold, be kind, and be open to everyday magic. Your person may be just down the street, or they may be on the same cruise around the world, and soon you find yourself singing to the exact same beat.